My name is Nicolette Springer. I'm speaking today on behalf of the League of Women Voters. League of Women Voters is in opposition to this bill. We do not believe that teachers should be armed in school. And it has been brought up multiple times that this program is voluntary, and we understand that. But we do not believe that teachers should be in a position where they are in a classroom and they work in a district for which they have lived and raised their children and have grown a family, and they choose to have a job that we should all fully respect. And they go into a school district where they are part of the community. And they have no option to not sit next to a classroom that has another armed teacher. So this idea that this is voluntary, it's correct, it is voluntary. But it's not voluntary for the teachers who live in the districts who's decided to arm teachers, because they don't get to voluntarily move. They don't get to voluntarily go to another district and decide, and just because they want to move into a district that doesn't arm teachers. If you live in that district that arms teachers, those teachers are now forced to work in a school where there are going to be guns. And it has been stated here, and it's been stated by colleagues, that teachers do not want to be in that environment. And I have a few points about why we would think that that's a terrible decision to put a teacher in that position. Teachers are not law enforcement officers. Teachers are educators. Their job is to inspire reading and science lovers and history, and that is their job. Their job is not to put their life on the line or to carry a gun for to protect their students. Law enforcement officers go through extensive training to be prepared in moments of crisis. This bill proposes 144 hours of training. That is not enough. Only on line 133, only eight of those 144 hours are for active shooter training. 8 hours. That's one day. One day, and we're expecting our teachers to then have a gun and protect their children in the classroom. And they are their children. They're not their students. You will talk to teachers on a daily basis who will refer to their students as their babies, as their children. You're asking them to do that with 8 hours of training, not 144. The law enforcement officers who go through training for active shooting training, it's not just one class. They go through hours and years of training, and they have continuous education, and they're supported and supervised by individuals who also have that training. Those individuals who supervise our law enforcement are trained to see red flags. They're trained to see officers who have stress on the job. They're trained to know when an officer needs to be pulled. They're trained to know when an officer should not be carrying a weapon. Are we now going to ask our principals to know that about our teachers? In addition to understanding curriculum, in addition to knowing if their teachers are effective in the classroom, do they also have to watch out for signs of mental illness because we need to take their gun? We're asking too much of our educators. This is the job of law enforcement. The League of Women Voters trusts our law enforcement. We trust our sheriff's departments. We trust our police officers to do the right thing and know how to protect our children. It is not the responsibility of our teachers to do this. The sheriff's departments and the police officers who have opted out of this in the districts, they are speaking loudly, and they are saying that they don't want guns in the classroom because they know that a gun in a classroom exposes children to more violence. There are study after study that shows that a home with a gun in it will be more likely to have gun violence than any other home. It's going to happen in our schools. A school with guns in it will have the same statistics once we start doing that. And we see study after study that shows that exposure to weapons alone causes PTSD in children. We are challenging our children on a level of mental health stress that is going to have decades of repercussion. The League of Women Voters fully supports making sure our school is as safe as possible. The commission out of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas came up with some very good suggestions, but arming teachers is not one of them.